Hello, sixth grade. Welcome back after spring break. Today is Tuesday, April 21st. We will be working in your book today, and then your work that you're going to be doing on your own is going to be on Google Classroom. Okay, let's begin with prayer first. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Angel of God, my guardian dear, to whom God's love commits me here, ever this day be at my side, to light and guard, to rule and guide. Amen. Thank you for joining me with that. Okay, hopefully you have handy your notes from last week. So you were supposed to be writing this down somewhere, either in your math journal or on a piece of paper, okay? We're going to be using the information that we learned before spring break and before Holy Week, these formulas, and we're going to be applying it in this lesson. This lesson is 13.3. It is on page 385. So we're going to do some of the work together. You're also probably going to need either your math journal or a piece of scratch paper or something, because the book doesn't give you a whole lot of room to work things out, and some of these problems are going to take quite a bit of room to plug some information in. It's really important, guys, that even though I can't see your work that you're doing right now, that you try to make sure that you solve these problems in a systematic way. And I'll get to that in just a second so that you can see. You want to try to write as much down as you can. Don't try to do things in your head, because then you're going to get very confused. Okay, lesson 13.3, problem solving using the area of a triangle. So remember, here's my notes, and here's the formula to find the area of a triangle. They actually give it to you here as well. Recall that the formula for the area of a triangle is A equals 1/2 base times height. You can also use the formula to find missing dimensions if you know the area and one of the dimensions. So what they're saying is, instead of them giving you the base and the height, they're going to give you either the base or the height and the area. And you're going to solve that, guys, exactly like we've done when we were solving for x or solving for y or whatever our variable is. This time, the variables that we're going to use for the triangle are going to be base and height. Okay, let's put this into play. Example number 1. After winning the state tournament, the wrestling team hangs a pennant shaped like a triangle on the gym wall. The base of the triangle is 1.5 feet long. It has an area of 2.25 square feet. What is the height of the triangle? Okay, so they gave us the base, so we know what the base is. They gave us the total for the entire area is 2.25, so that's of the whole thing. We need to find out what that dotted line is, what the height is. Okay. You don't necessarily have to do this, but whenever I start trying to find the area of certain shapes, I always write the formula out. That way I can just go back to it if I need to. So I write the formula out. A equals 1/2 base times height, and I know that. Remember, you guys don't have to memorize the formulas, but you do. Now we're going to apply it. Okay, look at what they did here. They plugged in the information that they had. We know the area is 2.25, so they plugged that in for A. The 1/2, that stays the same. Nothing changes there. The base is 1.5, so I went ahead and plugged in 1.5 for the B. The H is what I don't know. Okay, so that, as long as you set up the problem correctly, you're on the right track. Okay, this next problem, or this next section of the problem, the area stays the same, 2.25. Now, over here, guys, they're saying I can't find 1/2 of the height because I don't know what the height is. I can, however, find 1/2 of the base. So I'm going to apply this 1/2 just to the base. That's where they get this 0.75 or 75 hundredths. Okay, hopefully you guys get that. 1/2 of 1.5 is 0.75. Okay. So what they need, and that's what they did here. If you multiply 1/2 and 1.5, you're going to get 0.75. Again, the H, that's my variable. I don't know what the height is. I have no idea. Now, think back to when we were solving regular problems, when we were solving for X or Y. Notice if I have a number right next to a letter, that is a multiplication problem right here. You want to do the inverse or the opposite operation so that you have H all by itself. Remember, we've done these problems, guys. You can do this. So if this is multiplication, I need to do the opposite. I need to divide 0.75 in order to get the H all by itself. Remember, whatever you do to one side, you've got to do to the other side. So if I divide both sides, you end up with just H over here, because remember that 0.75, they kind of cancel each other out. You do have to do the division over here though, and if you were to divide 2.25 by 0.75, you would get 3. So the height of the triangle is 3 feet. Okay? So hopefully I didn't go too fast on that. If I did, you're welcome to pause the video and go back and look again if you need to. Okay, we're going to do your turn, but I am going to use my whiteboard because I don't have a whole lot of room here. But let's read and see what they want us to find out. Renee is sewing a quilt whose pattern contains right triangles. Each quilt piece is a right triangle. Now remember, your area for triangle, regardless of what kind of triangle it is, it's all the same. It doesn't change. Okay, so just to help me out, I'm going to set this up here. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't think I've finished reading it. Each quilt is a right triangle with a height of 6 inches and an area of 24 inches. How long is the base of each quilt? So up here, they gave me the base and I had to find the height. Here, it's the opposite. They're going to give me the height, and I have to find the base. Okay, this is how I do it. I always write my formula first because it just helps me know what I'm supposed to be solving. Base times height. Okay, let's plug in the information that we know. You know what? I'm going to use my skinnier pen because that pen's going to take up too much. Okay, so I do know that my area is 24. So I can plug in 24 for my area. The 1/2 stays the same. That doesn't change. I don't know what my base is. So the B stays the same. But I do know what the height is because they told me it was 6 inches. Okay, hopefully you guys, and try to set it up like this. I just took the information that I had and plugged in what I could. Now remember, I'm solving for B. B is going to be my variable. Well, 24 stays the same. Nothing changes there. Well, I can't take 1/2 B because I don't know what B is. However, I can take 1/2 of 6. And if I take 1/2 of 6, I end up with B 3. Notice where I got the 3 from. 1/2 of 6 is 3. Because I use that half is gone now. All I end up on this side with is B times 3, and 24 over here stays the same. I want B to be all by itself. Remember, this is a multiplication problem, so I need to do the opposite or the inverse operation. Whatever I do to one side, I got to do to the other side. My base is going to be 8 inches. Okay, hopefully I didn't trip you up here, okay? All right, let's go to so yeah, the answer is 8 inches is gonna be your base. Okay, back page. Using equations, writing equations using the area of a trapezoid. So remember, based on our notes, here's my area, my formula for area. A garden in the shape of a trapezoid has an area of 44.4 square meters. One base is 4.3 meters long. The other base is 10.5 meters long. The height of the trapezoid is the width of the garden. How wide is the garden? Okay, they gave me some information, but I don't know what the height is. So I'm just plugging in some of my information that I know. And you have to make sure you read these word problems really carefully. Again, here's my formula for my trapezoid. We know that. And remember, inside your parentheses, you're adding the two bases. Hopefully you remember from the last lesson before break how we did this when we were trying to find the area of this. We copied it and then flipped it over and put another trapezoid upside down over here, and that let us show the area of a parallelogram. But we didn't want the area of the entire thing. We only wanted the area of the first trapezoid, so that's where the half comes in. Hopefully you remember that. Okay, so I'm plugging in my information. I know what the entire area, because they told me up here, 44.4. Half the height, I have no idea what the height is. That's what I'm trying to solve for. That's my variable. I can plug in the dimensions of the bases though. Okay, going back, remember when you're adding decimals, you line the decimals up. That's what they did here. You're going to do what's inside the parentheses first to get 14.8. Now, I can't take half of the height because I don't know what the height is. However, I can take half of 14.8. Remember when you say half of, that word of means multiplication. You can do one of two things. You can take that 14.8 and divide it by 2, or you can take that 14 times 8 and multiply it by 1/2, which is what they did here. Either way, you should get the same answer, okay? So if I take half of 14.8, I get 7.4 height, okay? I don't know what that height is. I have no idea. So remember, this is multiplication. Do the inverse or the opposite operation. Divide both sides by 7.4 so that you end up with h all by itself. After you do that, h is going to equal 6. So the height of how wide the garden is, because they told us up here that the height is the same as the width, the garden is 6 meters wide. Okay, real quickly, let's just look at this reflect. Explain why the first step after substituting is addition. So remember, order of operations, that's why. That's how we know that that's what's going to come first. So using the order of operations. Your turn. And again, I'm going to do mine on my whiteboard here. The cross section of a water trough is shaped like a trapezoid. A water trough, guys, is kind of one of those, it kind of looks like a big bucket that usually is used for like horses to drink water, or cows or pigs or any other kind of, it's a container that usually animals drink water or eat if it's a food trough. The bases of the trapezoid are 18 feet and 8 feet long. It has an area of 52 square feet. What is the height? Now remember, I'm talking about a trapezoid. So this is what I do. I just always write my formula without plugging any numbers in. And again, you don't have to memorize these. Let's plug in what I can. I know the whole area is 52 square feet, so I can plug in 52 because they gave me what the total area was. 1/2 doesn't change. H, well, I don't know what the height is. That's what I'm trying to figure out. But I do know what the two bases are. 18 plus 8. Okay, hopefully you guys know what we're going to do next. We are going to add what is inside the parentheses, 52. And notice how when I said at the beginning of the lesson, I said we're going to do this systematically. Notice how I've got every step written down. I know it seems like a pain, but you really want to try to do this because it's going to get a little bit more complicated. So you want to make sure you're writing all your steps out. Try not to do stuff in your head, okay? Notice I added what's inside of my parentheses. Okay, 52 stays the same. Well, I can't take 1/2 of h because I have no idea what h is, but I can take half of 26. Two different ways you can write this, guys. You can either write it like this, half of 26 is 13, or you can flip it around and do 52 equals 13h. Either way is correct. Okay, so it doesn't matter. it might be easier for you to do it this way because you might see already, oh, this is multiplication. Well, this is multiplication too, because if I have a letter next to a number, and it doesn't, the parentheses here tell me this is multiplication. And you guys know here, whenever you see a number next to a letter, that means multiplication. I need to do the opposite or the inverse operation, which is 13. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other side. And 52 divided by 13 happens to be 4. So my height is going to be 4 foot for the trough. Okay, if I went too fast, go back and rewind and see what we did wrong here, or see where you made a mistake, or if I went too fast for you. We're going to take this information and continue. Now we're going to push it a little bit more. Now you guys know how to solve for either the base or the height, depending on what they're asking. Now it's going to get a little bit more complicated. On the next page, page 387, this is one of those pages where they did all the work for you, but don't just blow through this, okay? I want you to take your time in really reading this, okay? John and Mary are using rolls of fabric to make a rectangular stage curtain for their class play. The rectangular piece of fabric on each roll measures 2.5 feet by 15 feet. If the area of the curtain is 200 square feet, what is the least number of rolls that they need? So you're trying to figure out how many rolls of this 2.5 by 15 do you need in order to have enough for 200 square feet. Okay, what they did here, they do a lot of stuff that you don't necessarily have to do, but let's go ahead and look at it anyway. What they did is, to analyze the information, they said to rewrite the question as a statement. You don't have to do this. Find the least number of rolls of fabric needed to cover an area of 200 feet square. List the important information. I know each roll of the fabric is 2.5 foot by 15 foot. And I know the total area that they need is 200. Write an equation to find the area of each roll of fabric. So I'm not even going to care about that 200 square feet yet. I just want to figure out how much 2.5 by 15 would cover. How much fabric is going to be in for one roll. So using the area of the curtain. Now remember, the area of the curtain, because it's talking about a rectangle, is length times width. You can also say base times height. But usually when you're talking about a rectangle, it's length times width. When you're talking about parallelograms, that's where you talk about the B and the H, okay? All right, so what they did here is they're going to use area equals length times width. So this is just for one roll of fabric. So my area is going to equal 15 times 2.5. The area for one roll is going to be 37.5 feet squared. Okay, well that's just the area for one roll. I'm trying to figure out how many of these rolls I need to cover 200 square feet. So in step 2, that's what they did there. I'm trying to figure out how many 37.5s can fit into 200. So they did the division. Now, they're not really showing you the work, but the answer is going to be 5 1/3. So they're going to need 5 1/3 rolls. Now, go back to what the question asked. What's the least amount of rolls that they're going to need to cover the entire 200 square feet? Well, they're going to need at least 6. If they only buy 5, they're not going to have enough to cover the entire 200 square feet because they need 5 1/3. So to be on the safe side, they're going to need to buy 6 rolls. And yeah, they'll have some left over, but at least they'll have enough for the whole rectangle that they need to cover. Okay? They did some justifying and evaluating down here at the bottom. They did some estimating, basically. They went back up here and said, oh, okay, so the area of one roll of fabric is going to be 37.5. Okay, that's pretty close. Let's go ahead and round that. So that's pretty close to 38 square feet. So then they kind of did the same thing. They kind of went, okay, since 38 square feet times 6 is 228 feet, okay, that's going to be a reasonable answer so that they have enough to cover the 200 square feet. This is just an extra step here to see if your answer is reasonable. Again, if I went too fast on that, go back over because now we're going to solve problems like this. Okay? Your turn on page 388. A parallelogram shaped field in a park needs sod. The parallelogram has a base of 21.5 meters and a height of 18 meters. The sod is sold in pallets of 50 square meters. How many pallets of sod are needed to fill the field? Sod, guys, is those rolls of grass that you kind of see that when people go and they want to put brand new grass and they don't want to use the seed, it almost looks like a carpet. But yeah, it's like rolls or flats of big pieces of grass. Okay, so I need to use the formula for a parallelogram. And again, I'm going to do it on my whiteboard here. I always write my area so that I know what I'm doing. For a parallelogram, it's base times height, and I know it's a parallelogram because that's what they told me. I need to find out what the area is. Okay, so my area is going to be 21.5 times 18. Okay, if you need to go off to the side to figure out 21.5 times 18, or you can go ahead and use a calculator if you need to. The area is going to be 387. And it's feet, I believe we're talking, oh no, we're talking meters, sorry. So the area is going to be 387 meters squared. Now it comes, the sod comes in pallets of 50. I need to figure out how many 50s can squeeze into this guy here. So if I take 387 divided by 50, and again, if you want to do this, pause the video and go off to the side and figure it out, or you can use the calculator. Okay, you should get 7.74 meters. Oh, actually it's pallets. That's what we're talking about here. Okay, so remember right here it says how many pallets of sod are needed to fill the field. So in total, how many pallets would you need? Well, you need 7.74. Well, you might as well round this up so that you make sure you have enough. Yeah, you're going to have extra, but at least you have enough for the entire field. So you're going to need 8 pallets. Okay, we're going to do the guided practice together, okay? Again, step by step, guys. I know it seems like a pain, but hang in there with me, okay? A triangular bandana has an area of 70 square inches. So they're telling me what the area is. The height of the triangle is 8 3/4 inches. Write and solve an equation to find the length of the base of the triangle. Again, I don't have enough room here, so I'm going to do it on my whiteboard. Okay, so I know that I'm talking about a triangle, and this is my formula for a triangle. They gave me the area, the total area. So I know the total area is 70. They gave me the height, but they didn't give me the base. My height is 8 3/4. You're going to need plenty of room for this one. Now it's getting a little tricky, guys. This is where all the stuff you've learned in terms of adding and dividing and multiplying and subtracting fractions, this is where everything's going to come into play because you're going to use tons of different things here. I can't figure out half the base because I don't know what the base is, but I do know what the height is. I have to figure out a half of 8 3/4. So what I'm going to do here is I need to change this to an improper fraction. 1/2 b, notice how I'm doing step by step. Remember how you change this to an improper fraction. Denominator times whole number plus numerator. You should get 35 over 4. Okay, 4 times 8 is 32, plus 3 is 35. Now I'm going to take 1/2 of this. Okay, now remember, when you take 1/2 of, you're multiplying. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to move this 1/2 over here. You don't have to do that, but I think it's going to help make a little bit more sense. And I'm multiplying this by 1/2. Remember, you can also divide it, but I'm going to multiply. Okay? So when I'm doing my multiplication here, you should get, let me make sure I'm doing this right. You should get 35 over 8. Yeah. Multiply. I can't do any cross reducing, so you're going to get 35 over 8. So 70 equals B 35 over 8. Now remember, this 1/2 is gone because I already took 1/2 of 35 over 4. That's where I got 35 over 8. Hopefully you guys are staying with me here. I need to solve for B. Yes, that looks like a fraction because it is, but it's also division. Remember that, guys. In order to get rid of this problem, I am going to do the opposite of division, which is multiplication. Remember, I want the B all by itself. I'm simply going to multiply this by the inverse fraction. Because, look, if I cross-reduce, don't I end up with just 1? And that's exactly what I want, because I want B all by itself. Whatever I did here, I need to do here. 8 over 35. Again, if I'm going too fast, go back, okay? This is really important because you're going to see this on your homework. Well, I guess all work is homework now. Okay, so these cross-reduced, I end up with just B. If I do some cross-reducing here, oh, look at 35 goes into 70 twice. Multiply across, 8 times 2 is 16. So we know that the base of the triangle is going to be 16 inches. Hopefully you can see now why I want you guys to go step by step, because it can get really confusing. Okay, let's look at number 2. The top of the deck is shaped like a trapezoid. The bases of the trapezoid are 26.5 and 30 centimeters long. The area of the desk is 791 square centimeters. The height of the trapezoid is the width of the desk. Write and solve an equation to find the width. Again, I'm going to use my whiteboard. My formula for a trapezoid is A equals 1/2 height, and this time you're going to be adding those bases. Let's plug in what we know. They've already told me that the area is 791, 1/2. I don't know what the height is, but I do know what the two bases are because they told me what the two bases are, 26.5 and 30. Okay, I'm going to do what's inside my parentheses first using my order of operations. I don't know what the H is, but if I add these two guys up here, you're going to get 56.5. I need to take half of 56.5. So a couple of different ways you can do that. Remember, you can, if you want, you can move this 1/2 over here, or you can just use your calculator to do 56 divided by 2. You could do that as well. Okay. You should get 791 equals, and what I did is I moved my 1/2 over here, okay? And I didn't cross reduce, but I just multiplied across. So I got 56. Oh, you know what? Hang on just a second, because I don't know my H. I got 56.5 over 2. Okay, hopefully you guys, if you're multiplying, hopefully you guys can see what I did. Okay, I just multiplied across. That's an improper fraction. Yeah, it is. But similar to the one that we just did, I want to get rid of that 56.5 over 2, and I want the H all by itself. Well, this is a division problem. Yeah, it's H times, but within the parentheses, it's a division problem. I want to do the opposite operation, so I'm going to simply multiply by the reciprocal. Remember, reciprocal is when you flip the numbers over. They cancel each other out. So you're going to end up with just H on this side. But remember, whatever you do to one side, you got to do to the other side. So I'm going to do the same thing over here. And it just so happens, and if you want to use your calculator to do this, that's what I did. I didn't figure it out in my head. I used my calculator. This 56.5 happens to go into 791 14 times. Okay, I'm not done yet. I got to do 2 times 14, 428. So the height of the trapezoid is going to be 28 centimeters. Oops, looks like a crazy M. Centimeters. Okay, it's a lot of information, guys, okay? You can see how all your math is starting to really come into play. You're starting to use all different kinds of operations. Okay, one more. Taylor wants to paint his rectangular deck that is 42 feet long and 28 feet wide. A gallon of paint covers about 350 square feet. How many gallons of paint will he need to cover the entire deck? This question is similar to this one that we did, okay? So first of all, I know I'm talking about a rectangle. So the area for a rectangle is length times width. So that's what they're looking for here. So they were looking for write and solve an equation to find the length, to find the area, of the deck. So what is that equation going to look like? Remember, and I'll just write it over here off to the side. To find the area, it's length times width because I'm talking about a rectangle. Yeah, you could also say base times height. That would work too. So my equation is going to look like, let's see, the area equals, and I know it's 42 by 28, 42 by 28, and if you want, you can put both of those in parentheses if you want, or just one of them. It's the same thing. Write and solve an equation to find the number of, hang on just a second. Let's go ahead and solve this answer here. Sorry, guys. So if I multiply 42 times 28, the area is going to equal 1,176. And I believe we're talking about feet. Okay, so that's the entire area. Now I need to figure out how many, the number of gallons of paint that he's going to need. So write and solve an equation to find the number of gallons I guess of paint, or you can just put gallons, that's fine too. Okay. In order to figure that out, I need to take the entire area, which is what I figured out up here, which was 1,176, and I need to divide that by 350 because they're telling me that that's how much 1 gallon will cover. Go ahead and do that division. You can use your calculator if you'd like. You're going to get either a fraction or a decimal. I got a decimal. I got 3.36. So how many gallons should he buy in order to have enough for the whole deck? Well, it's 3.36, so he's going to need 4 gallons. Okay. This was a big lesson. It's a lot of information. So if you need to go back and watch the video, or if you want to do the, go on the interactive student, watch the video there, you're welcome to do that. Your work that you're going to be doing independently is going to be on Google Classroom. I am going to be taking some of the stuff from the book, some of the questions from the book, but guys, solve it on Google Classroom. If you want to solve it in your book, you can, but if you can, make sure to put the answers in Google Classroom. That way I'm not looking at a bunch of pictures and everything. This way we have, one platform where we're going to have everything there. Okay? All right, again, go to Google Classroom and solve those questions there. I am using some of the questions from the book, but they won't necessarily correspond to the book, okay? Because I'm going to kind of be jumping around. I'm not going to be using every single question from the independent practice, but I'm going to be using some of them. All right. Hope you guys have a good day and take care, and we will talk tomorrow. All right. Sacred Heart of Jesus, pray for us. Bye, guys.